Greetings and welcome back to room 303 and Senior English A, and we turn now to our unit number 1 in the MyPerspectives consumable text. Our first unit is called Forging a Hero, Warriors and Leaders. And if you look on page 2 and 3, you'll see a schemata of the unit as it's laid out. Now we're going to spend the majority of unit 1 with the Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf. We're going to do some other texts as well, smaller texts that will be associated with our Unit 1 study of Forging a Hero. But our primary concern will be Beowulf. Now, if you look at page 4 real quickly, and I hope that you're working now along with me, looking at your consumable, remember that you are wanting to actually write in the book, right? Our annotative work will be internal annotation. I'm going to help you learn how to do that. Let's go first of all to our unit goals on page 4. Take a moment and go through real quickly and just fill out the information on page 4. On page 5, we're looking at the academic vocabulary for argument. Okay? Understanding and using academic terms can help you read, write, and speak with precision and clarity. Here are 5 academic words that will be useful to you in this unit as you analyze and write arguments. Okay? And you want to complete the chart that's provided for you on page 5. Your words, purport, credible, assertion, presume, and contradictory. Let's go ahead now and turn to the first of our texts to be annotated on page 6. This is our launch text. You're going to see this with every one of the units in this textbook. We're going to have a launch text, and we're going to look at an argument model. At the conclusion of Unit 1, you'll be writing an argument, so it would make sense for us to pay attention right away to what one looks like. Notice I'm reading now from the box up at the top on page 6. In this text, we're told, is an example of argument. It presents a claim, organizes reasons, evidence to support that claim. This is the type of writing you will develop in the performance-based assessment at the end of this unit, Unit 1. As you read, try to understand why the authors included certain facts and details. Mark the details, that is to say, annotate internally. That provides strong evidence to reinforce the author's claim. The title is A World of Heroes. Literature is rife with heroes. Let's circle the word rife. Hopefully you're working with red ink, again, so that it shows up nicely against the page. And the word rife here, of course, simply means full of, right? So in other words, literature is in large measure all about heroes. It has been so since the beginning. Homer's Odyssey, an epic poem from ancient Greece, is about a hero, Odysseus, and his quest to return home after a 10-year war between the Greeks and the people of Troy. Of course, in your freshman year, you studied Homer's Odyssey and, of course, the great stories that are involved in that. Every step of Odysseus' journey is larger than life. I would circle that term, larger than life, and filled with danger. One moment he's escaping from a cyclops, the one-eyed giant. The next he's speaking directly to the gods. Many modern fictional heroes are just as outsized. I would put a circle around outsized, and then I would draw up to larger than life to show those two notions. Often heroes are these outsized, larger than life people. They sail through popular culture on movie screens and comic books, on smartphones, each moment of their lives filled with drama and weight. In the note margin area to the left there, jot down for yourself at 3, and now we're making a 3B observation. What is for you one obvious, outsized, to use their word, type of person in popular culture right now that you follow? Might be a musician, might be a movie star, might be a celebrity of some kind. Back to the reading. However, these unrealistic fictional characters are heroes only in great entertaining stories. Today, in the 21st century, I believe that true heroes are most often ordinary people who in a brief moment behave heroically. Now we want to underline that. That obviously is our thesis. This is what it is that the author says is to be believed. Namely, put it in your own words, summarize it quickly, true heroes today are most often, not always, but most often, ordinary people who in a brief moment behave heroically. Now we're going to look to see specifically how this unfolds. Second paragraph. And by the way, do note that your paragraphs are always numbered. You might want to point out to yourself that. Now we're at paragraph 2. Modern heroes have to deal with the same reality as the rest of us. They fill out forms, sweat in the heat, stand in supermarket lines. If the life of a modern hero has any drama, it is in that single moment in which he or she performs one extraordinary act, garnering a brief bit of attention and earning the title of hero. So notice in the second paragraph, you can write this in your notes, in your annotative notes, 2 observations. 1, content. 2, rhetoric. Content. Notice that we have a restatement then of what the thesis actually has just said. Namely, heroes today are more regularly normal, ordinary people who then find themselves in a single moment, an important moment, no question, and they behave heroically. The rhetorical observation in 2b is, notice that first line, modern heroes have to deal with the same realities as us. Simple sentence. But then look at the second sentence and notice your 3s, your tripartites. They fill out forms, comma, sweat in the heat, comma, then the coordinating conjunction to finish with the 3, and stand in supermarket lines. Now this rhetorical effect of naming 3 things takes us all the way back to very, very early essay writing, especially Francis Bacon's of Studies, and we see it a lot in our prose. So let's just point it out. Paragraph 3. Now we're going to get an example. So put this in your notes, right there on the page. Consider, for example, the case of Sheasley Sullenberger. Prior to January 15, 2009, he led a life of quiet successes. He'd attended the United States Air Force Academy, piloted fighter planes, became a pilot for U.S. Airways. Then, on the morning of January 15, 2009, as he was piloting a passenger jet that had taken off from New York City's LaGuardia Airport, his plane hit a flock of geese, causing the jet's engines to fail. As the jet began a rapid dive over New York City, Schellenberger remained calm, kept the plane steady, and landed it on the Hudson River. Of course, Tom Hanks has made a famous film about this, yes? All of the passengers and crew survived. The media hailed him as a hero. For weeks he was interviewed on television. Gradually, though, he faded from public life, quietly retired. So let's pause, put a note to yourself. What is specifically the example that's being provided here? An individual who is a pilot, who has to save a whole bunch of people, and he does it in the most heroic of fashions, but then after the fact, he goes back into quiet life and retires. Let's go to paragraph 4. Another display of everyday heroism was the monumental response of volunteers immediately following the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. The captains and crews of hundreds of ferries, tugboats, and private vessels, notice your 3s again, right? Selflessly sailed directly into the heart of the attack to rescue nearly 500,000 New Yorkers from the piers and seawalls of Lower Manhattan. These were ordinary citizens who risked their own safety to help those in need. Off to the side, paragraph 4, here's your second example, 9/11 and the responders. Let's go to paragraph 5. Some may argue that there are true larger-than-life heroes who leave a permanent shadow, not by virtue of a single act, but through a lifetime of heroic deeds. What about the life of someone such as the American aviator, Amelia Earhart? Earhart's life was filled with heroism. We're now at our 3rd example, right? Her 1932 solo flight across the Atlantic was just one example. Even after that journey had made her a celebrity, she continued to seek new challenges. Most notably, in 1937, she took on the greatest challenge of her life, a flight around the world. Unfortunately, she never completed the journey, vanishing somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. And for those of you that know anything about Amelia Earhart's final journey, it today even remains a mystery, a total mystery, what happened to her and to her flight. So there's your third example of a person who is potentially heroic. Paragraph 6. Despite her legendary reputation, a fair share of Earhart's life was devoted to everyday concerns. She spent long, grueling hours performing routine maintenance on her airplane. Moreover, she endured weeks of monotonous train travel during her lecture tours. What is larger than life about that? Let's pause. Notice the point again. Coming back to the argument of the original thesis, heroes are in fact ordinary people who do extraordinary things in a moment or a few moments in their life. And now to finish with paragraph 7. In the 21st century, we understand that time is humbling. I want to pause for a moment and ask you to just write in the notes there to the side what you think that means. T.S. Eliot will say in East Coker, the only wisdom we can hope to acquire is the wisdom of humility. Humility is endless. What do you think it means that time is humbling? What are your thoughts on that? Jot down an idea or two there for yourself. The idea maybe that, when we look at history, we recognize two observations. You ain't met no 200-year-old people. Let that thought just sink in, right? In other words, life is short. Of course, the other observation is that what we do in life echoes in eternity, to quote a famous movie about a famous hero from a film called Gladiator. You'll remember as well, a 3A observation, you'll remember as well that it was Longfellow in Song of Life that says, in this world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb, driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. To continue now and finish with paragraph 7. In the 21st century, we understand that time is humbling. No one fully escapes everyday annoyances or tasks. We understand, too, that it's possible for someone not very different from ourselves to step forward at a critical moment and act with extraordinary courage and selflessness. Our heroes may fade from the news and go back to their ordinary lives, but they are heroes nonetheless. Now we want to pause. Let's quickly do a full annotation at levels 1, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. At level 1, summarizing very quickly what it is that this text is about. Heroes are ordinary people who do extraordinary things. At 2A, themes and messages, the value of heroes, no doubt. The challenge to live one's life so that one can have heroic moments in an ordinary time. I think there's two clear messages in this reading. One is to identify who those heroes are in your life. The people who have taken care of you, the people who have nurtured you, the teachers, the parents, the coaches of your life. And then secondly, the challenge, of course, for you to do something heroic. Later in senior English, we will study a text called Tintern Abbey, where Wordsworth, the poet, will argue that it's really not big things that make our lives great. It's the little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and love. We'll get to those lines. At 2B, in terms of rhetoric, well, we've already pointed out our threes. You can make that observation. Notice the ordered organization of this essay, right? Again, level 2B, not what is said, but how it's said. Notice our author here is going to give us a thesis, and then is going to provide us with 3 examples, points of validation. At 3A, we'll notice Homer's Odyssey is mentioned, so we've got to write that one down. What are the other heroic texts? The Iliad, the Odyssey are both by Homer, the Aeneid by Virgil. These are the classic, great epic poems. We're going to write it down. We're going to study Beowulf, which is an epic poem. What is for you your favorite video game that you play that has a hero, or your favorite movie or TV show that has a hero? And finally, at 3B, we've got to connect this to ourselves if this is going to be genuine learning for us. What is a time in your life when you believe that you acted heroically, extraordinarily? And then what's a time in your life when someone did that for you? Now we're going to do a word network for forging a hero at the bottom of page 7. Notice the way this works. You have the word heroism in the center, and then you have any number of words that are related to it. Courage, courageous, rescued, imperiled. Go ahead and work through this and adding words to this so that we're prepared when we come to class together to be able to discuss it. On to page 8, We're going to get a quick summary. This is what we call level 1, right? Summary is concise, complete, accurate overview of a text. It should not include a statement of your opinion or an analysis. So in other words, underline that. We're not saying whether you agree or disagree with this. We're just simply summarizing on page 8. And then right away we're going to do our launch activity, and we're going to draft a focus statement. Consider this question. Which character traits do I admire in my personal heroes? Complete this focus statement. A hero should be blank, blank, and blank. So go ahead and fill that out, right? And then finally we're going to do a quick write on page 9 about the question prompt, which contributes more to heroism, sacrifice or success? You take a position one way or the other on that, write a few lines about that, and we'll be ready to go to work here in a while, okay? So in our next project, we'll turn then to introducing ourselves specifically to the focus period of 750 to 1066 ancient warriors. Thank you.